Hey, everything goes. Let's go. Feel. Everything goes when the homies hate your personal takes. Your core of a tank type of take, it be hurting you to rank. Heated debates about who's better between the birds and the saints. But post games of which bigs is really worse than the paint. And John, Ian, and Dan on the pod, future icons. Ian screaming go birds and Dan trying to fight John. A Rockets fan with the Saints from Philly with a python. Cross me and the boy step over him like he Tyron. Eagle season end with a bowl and nobody sober. Let the Saints be the chance and Dan on bourbon and Nola. Everything goes. Place your bets with us, take the over. Philly niggas wanna see how red that we gon' make October. At game time is game time. Need your picks and can clutch it. Gave my ticket to John, brought me back with a bucket. CP3 on the assist and Kawhi be getting his touches. But I'm watching Bron cooking my ticket and I'm like fuck it. Let Ian tell it. He gon' say that Bron is the GOAT. Coming back from 3-1 and barely had him a coach. MJ don't got these records so we laughing the most. And I watched it with my own eyes so now I'm back in the host. I get my locks from Dan and lock it in on fantasy picks. Number one in every league, they can't stand me with this. I'm fleecing the league with every trade I dismantle it quick. Wave a wire watching the pod to help me handle the shit. Legendary status, keep watching, we gon' reach that. But reach too far, my rocket shooting and I gotta teach that. Fill the gap with a hit stick. Think I don't see that Hall of Fame vision switching from B-Dog to the T-Man. On your wrist, John Dane time and everything froze. Errol Spence washed up then and everyone knows. You can't see it, I see 3 when comparing to those. Cause every podcast can't handle when everything goes.
Welcome back to Everything Goes. Today I'm in the studio with my man John.
Yo, we back in this joint with another EP, baby.
Got my man E.
We back in the stew.
First and foremost, we just want to thank everybody that's tapped in and everybody that will tap in. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Your support is very much appreciated. But before we jump into our games and topics for today, y'all already know we got to start with some breaking news. And there's been a whole lot going on this week. But we're going to start here today in the NBA. The Mavs have dismissed Jay Kidd as head coach. I need y'all thoughts and reactions on this.
I was shocked. I didn't see this coming. I feel like the Mavs ended up back in a place where they had no expectations for the program. But at the same time, you look at there's new management in there. They got Nico out of there. Luka is gone. In terms of that former team, you got a couple players, Kyrie Irving, PJ, but most of what was then, even Mark Cuban is not with the Mavs anymore. So, in a sense, it was also time for a new start in Dallas. I think J.K. is capable of coaching. I think it's a lot of teams that could benefit from the knowledge that he brings to the game, especially from a point guard perspective. Teams with young point guards, but I also think that it's very possible that his coaching style is not favorable in today's NBA as well, and that may be reflective in his inability to stay somewhere long term. So,
got you. What about you, John?
I'm a second in. Definitely unexpected, but not crazy shocked considering how Dallas what has transpired in Dallas over the past 2 seasons. When you consider they traded away their cornerstone franchise player, they had the number 1 overall pick. They've been in a rebuild. This is around when coaches typically from old regimes get fired, unfortunately. And like Ian said, J. Kidd definitely can coach. We clearly see that he's able to coach. So I have no doubt he'll get another job. And then it's also, you never know what goes on behind the scenes, like with all the reports that that were kind of circulating with him being a nuisance in the organization, just being annoying and getting on upper management. Like, bad side is the wrong word for it, but just getting on their nerves. So I guess they came to if all that is true, they came to the conclusion like, yeah, bro, we'll just transition to who can coach this next Dallas Maverick identity and roster into the next couple of years with Cooper Flag.
Gotcha. So for me, I agree with everything both of you guys just said. And so I'm going to take it a different route. I want to ask you both this one question. So now with J. Kidd out the door, AD out the door, Luka out the door, Cooper Flag is now there. What does this mean for Kyrie Irving?
Oh, he getting traded. I ain't gonna lie. I have no doubt that Kyrie Irving is gonna be traded this summer. Like, I think it's not to say there's no point to have him on the roster, but at least from what Dallas is telling us with some of the move that they've been making and
Moves.
the direction they
Mhm.
want to go, they don't want somebody like Kyrie Irving on the roster. They rather continue to be young. And not to say there's nothing wrong with Kyrie. Like we know Kyrie could be easily an excellent leader. He's a great player, although he did just get hurt. But it seems like they want to transition to more like a fully young avenue with a different identity. So I think for almost you can book it that Kyrie will be traded this offseason. And I don't think Kyrie wants to be. I don't even think Kyrie wants to be a part of the rebuild. Like I think he cool. Kyrie 34, maybe ish. So I think he's in definitely he's trying to win before he gets up out of here. Not to suffer two major injuries. So yeah, Kyrie is definitely breaking trade this summer.
Truth be told, it's not something that I've thought about. Because I feel like we still like kind of fresh on the idea of new moves being done in Dallas. And all this year it was Kyrie will be back before the season is over, around 50, 60 games ish. But a lot of things changed with Dallas and a lot of people were hurt. So it didn't really make sense for him to come back.
Exactly.
We've seen Kyrie before not be satisfied with I guess losing after, once he left Cleveland the first time, he's kind of drifted to winning programs and programs where he got a chance to compete on a year in, year out basis. And where he is right now, Coop or he'll be 20 next year, but in a situation where there's no clear alpha dog. There might be a clear leader or a clear veteran on the team, but there's no clear alpha on this team with the year that Coop just had and Kyrie being 34 coming off injury. So um, now that it's on the table, yeah, I think it definitely makes sense for Kyrie to be traded for both parties involved. I think Dallas can get rid of Kyrie for a young guard and some picks. Or if they it depends on what team they in talks with. Because I think it's other assets where they might be able to take a contract off of a team or,
You know,
to sacrifice picks that a team has.
what they need. Truthfully, they
Who,
need
Dallas?
yeah, they need a nice young defensive minded wing that's gonna play next to Flag and have his back. And so for that reason, they need to call up my Rockets. Y'all can have Tari Easton. Y'all can have that first round pick. You know what I mean?
Yo,
Yo,
go ahead.
bro, like this thing is terrible. I'm not even
Put
gonna
together
lie.
a nice care package.
That's
Kyrie
crazy.
and KD reunited in Houston. My fault.
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
we gonna move on to the NFL with some shocking news coming out this week from the Bears. They have announced that they will officially be moving from Chicago. What y'all feel about this?
I think it's I think it's crazy. Like not crazy because it seemed from the reports, it seemed like they tried. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dive too deep into the whole article, and nor am I do I live in Chicago, so I know firsthand. But it definitely seemed like they tried to get to stay in Chicago, but it didn't work out in their favor. Which and that does suck, but I think it sucks for the city because Chicago has such a massive history. Like it has such a massive history in the NFL. They haven't done too much winning as of the 20th century, but thinking back, old school Bears did a lot of winning. They known they had a reputation. And it definitely sucks to hear that. And yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I go ahead.
No, I agree. I think it's corny for sports,
Mm-hmm.
like because that's an aspect of sports that's real life, and sometimes it's politics and other things involved that sports has no influence on. Because it would be selfish to say, "Oh yeah, bro, like it's Chicago, the Bears got to stay in Chicago, find somewhere to build something." The amount of space, the amount of money, the amount of pollution, the amount of buildings or facilities that may be taken up in that
And then
city,
coming to
for any
Portland.
place in the league, exactly. So it's like we almost witnessed the same thing here in Philadelphia when they was trying to move Wells Fargo downtown when that was Xfinity Arena,
Mm-hmm.
but they were trying to move that downtown, and it was going to affect the infrastructure and just a whole lot of stuff in the city. So I understand like some stuff just can't be done, but it's very unfortunate for the game, like John said, just for namesake that the Chicago
Def-
Bears may not be the Chicago Bears moving forward.
So yeah, I agree with everything both of you guys just said. It's definitely unfortunate that they do have to move, but like they said, they did try for the past 3 years to find a way to keep the team in Chicago. So I'm not mad that they do have to move, but it's just unfortunate on the impact it's going to have historically for the NFL if they do have to go somewhere that's not too close where they can keep the name. Like I like the name change is really going to be the biggest factor. And then obviously, if you change the name, like who knows, they might have to do a logo change. Like we don't know what's getting ready to happen moving forward. I don't really like it because the
And
Bears are a historic franchise in the NFL.
Allentown Bears, keep the seat up.
that's crazy. And this is what as early as 2028,
Crazy.
ain't it?
Yeah.
I think it's at 27, bro.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I don't. I think we just gonna get more news about it as we get closer to it, and I just think we'll just continue to react to the news that we're getting because I do think this is going to be important for how it shaped. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to keep them in that same division. I don't think they're going to go too far. But what if divisions got to get realigned and stuff like that? I don't know how this is going to work because we haven't seen this in a while.
True.
So yeah,
That's true.
moving on to some more big news coming out of the NFL on the AFC. I'm gonna start with you on this one, E. Your man Aaron Rodgers has announced this will be his last NFL season. How y'all feel about this one? Just his career in totality, and then what y'all think he could do this season.
I think he should have went out with Mike and went out on the high road. I think they lost the game to a great defense that nobody expected them to win in the playoffs. But they made a late season push to get into the playoffs. And then they won a game, correct?
In the
What?
playoffs?
No,
Yeah, or they lost the
No.
first one. No, they lost to the Texans. Okay, but either way, oh yeah, the week before
Important
against
playoff
Lamar
game.
felt like a playoff game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think he could have left on that road. Um, his career as a totality, what 4 MVPs. Um, I don't know where he ranked all time in terms of passing yards, but I know he top 10 in major statistical categories. So I'm hats off to A Rod. You know, in terms of my favorite quarterbacks, he top 5 for me. Top 5 of my personal favorites. I think he could have won more Super Bowls than what he did. So I think that's definitely a knock on his resume, if you will. But I think that in the last 5 years, what he's been put with in terms of rosters and expectations and stuff like that, he don't really got nothing about his head too. So, hats off to A Rod. I wish him luck in his last season, but he should have no expectation but to go out on his own, and he be the determining factor, maybe get the one last hoorah with his old head coach.
Gotcha. So can I go real quick, John?
Yeah.
So yes. So for me, I do want to congratulate A Rod on a great career. I do think he's a top 10 quarterback all time. However you want to do the list, I don't think you can make a list and not have him top 10 point blank period. Now I would probably have him anywhere from 6 to 8. I don't have him top 5 quite yet. Well, I don't. He's not going to get there, so I don't have him in my top. But I'm not mad at people that do have him top 5. So I just want to put that out there. Now, in terms of this season, I kind of disagree with you just a tad bit. I think you was going towards the right path when you ended it with like maybe they should try to go out with a last hurrah. I honestly think that's what the goal is. You're not bringing in Mike McCarthy and you're not coming back for 1 year to go out there and go 7-9. Y'all just won the division last year. Y'all just made the postseason. You want to go make the postseason again, win a division again, and win a playoff game if not two.
Yeah,
So
I'm
yeah,
not saying they should go into the season like, oh yeah, we about to be a top 10 pick in next year's draft. But I'm saying if they going into the year with Super Bowl aspirations, like, I
no,
mean,
I
I guess
was
that's how you're supposed to think. But like realistically, do I think that anything could happen from 44-year-old A-Rod, like how we looked at Tom, even though I don't think it's a lot of teams that or a lot of people that expected the Bucks to go to the bowl when Tom went. But like
no.
by the mid-season, towards the end of the season, it was like, okay, the Bucks might be serious. They might can compete. We never looked at Pittsburgh like that last year. I don't
No,
think anybody would look at Pittsburgh like that going into next year. That's all I was saying.
gotcha. What about you, John?
Shout out to A-Rod on a great career. Definitely top 5. I think I'll put him in that 6 to 8 slot too. This last season, hope just because you have a quarterback, the legendary quarterback like that, like you do hope that he goes out on a high note and not that they flame out, the Steelers flame out and they go like 4-13 or something, miss the playoffs and they just cook the whole season. But that is very much on the table for them just going into this season.
Yes.
I mean,
That's crazy.
I'm just saying you never know. But nonetheless, like I said, shout out to A-Rod. I do hope he has a thorough last season. Hopefully, cross the fingers, no injury to him and going out on an injury this last season as well. His career, like Ian said, 4 MVPs, a lot of stats in the books. As far as winning, with racking up championships, he was able to accomplish one in his career. Not too much in that department. So yeah, like shout out to were you bitten, Ross?
Because it's hard to win a bowl in the NFL. You gonna talk too much.
No, I know it's hard to win a bowl, but he got Uno. He won and done. He got out of there. A lot of losing before and after that. So he cool. But yeah, shout out to A-Rod, man. I do hope they have a solid season. Yeah, shout out to legendary career.
Definitely. So yeah, I think we all on the same page for this one. They should definitely want to try to make the postseason next year and see what A-Rod can do, similar to what we saw last year. For real. So yeah, we're gonna move on to some more NFL news, but this is more so drama. So we're gonna call it foolery today. So the first thing we got for some NFL foolery, Nolan Smith and Rashid Rice have both been jailed this past week, both on separate charges. Rashid Rice for, I think it was violating probation, and then Nolan Smith for speeding. So what y'all feel about this?
I think, bro, I'm gonna start Rashid. You really gotta be a true not a goofball, but you pretty much you get left off the hook. But you get suspended last year. You get suspended last year. You get suspended from the NFL last year on consequences of what you did, early in last year. And then now you're on probation and you double back in the offseason now and you get found smoking weed. So now you have to do actual jail time. But that's so crazy to be a professional athlete. You literally have to do 30 days in jail because you violated your parole. That's insane. Like I do hope, and it sucks for somebody at Rashid caliber because we will all watch football. Rashid nice. Like Rashid is super nice. When he's on the field, he's very productive. And hopefully, with that squad and that coaching staff and that squad, this is not the straw that breaks the camel back. And when he does decide to come back, we like, yeah, we cool off you. Like you gonna come back and you probably gonna play, but then beyond that, even if you produce, we cool. But we have seen, especially in the NFL, players that if the drama is upheld, as long as the production is able to match it. So it's also possible.
Tolerated.
Exactly, it's tolerated. So hopefully, you come back, he produces. This can be swept under the rug, but it is a testament to and really have a conversation with like you have to be more responsible as a player. Like that can't happen because you missing your offseason programming, being able to get rapport with your quarterback, being able to get back right for this next season as we try to make some shape to get back to our winning ways. And then as far as Nolan, all I'm saying is shout out to them Georgia boys, man. They don't need to be nowhere near no wheels. They need the whole even after they get drafted to the league. Part of the NIL for Georgia players need to be you get chauffeured around at all times. I'm not even gonna lie. They need to be baked into the NIL program, bro. Like if you come into Georgia on some a blue chip, you starting take, and we know you're gonna be a first round draft pick, and this really just for the vibes, or even like a day 1 or day 2 draft pick, and it's just for the vibes, and to get we know you going. Yeah, that gotta be in the package. Chauffeurs at all times. You go somewhere, we on that. Right outside your crib, we on that. We got to drive in the wheel right because they can't help themselves, bro. And it just sucks, like because it's also consequences for your actions as well, and especially young. Because at the end of the day, these are young human beings. Like these people that are in their mid-20s. We're in our mid-20s. Like you make mistakes, and you have consequences, real life consequences for your actions. So
definitely. What about you, E?
Yeah, bro. The central theme is just discipline, bro. Like across both situations, is it's a lack of discipline, a lack of regard for the real life and real rules outside of your reality of being an NFL player. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to say about Nolan Smith outside of that. Um, yeah, I just don't got nothing to say, bro. I hope that he able to play and nothing extends from this situation. Um, but Rashid Rice, I agree with John. Like I hope that it's a situation that he can come back, produce, and actually learn. And like, all right, bro, I didn't think. Well, of course, he probably thought he could get over or pass a piss test or something. But like, all right, cool. You learned that lesson. Hopefully, you don't like he can stay out of trouble and build a rapport for himself. I think that Kansas City is a program that in terms of the head coach and staff, is led by Andy Reid, who has been that
Mm-hmm.
positive figure and influence in a lot of his players, life before. And we've heard stories about some of those relationships that he's had with players of the past. So hopefully that's a young guy that he can take under his wing and help stay out of trouble. But if Kansas City decide to let him go, that's a situation that I'll look at and say, okay, cool. Then not that he wasn't worth investing in, but they did all that they can do because I trust the staff in KC and how they've dealt with situations like this in the past.
Got you. So, you was done, A?
Yeah.
Okay, so two things. I want to pick up where you left off at. So I want to start with the KC let him go. I know that you're talking about if it continues to add on, and it's more things that he do that's worse. But as of right now, I don't think there's any red flags for them to let him go at this particular time. I think he's too valuable right now. I don't think they looking at that direction at all. But I will say this: I do agree with you that we are young, we are going to make mistakes, and like you said, he probably thought that he could try to finagle it and pass it this way and that way. Because at the end of the day, he is a young adult, but at the same time, you're getting paid. It's not. Matter of fact, it's not even about the money. You made your dream come true. You're in the NFL. You're trying to compete on the highest level. You are your team's number one wide receiver. Patrick Mahomes needs you. He's recovering from injury. You got to get on rapport with him. But instead of doing that and being in the film room, you staring at a wall. Like that's super. No, for real, John, you laughing, but that's super crazy. Like at some point in time, we got to learn to grow up and be professional. And it also brings me to my last point about this. People say it all the time, but you never really put it. You never put two and two together with real life situations. They always be like, the famous people. They really just want to be regular day people. They want to do what we do on a regular day. They don't really want to, not all of them don't really want to work hard and put the work in all the time. They take some of the stuff that they got for granted. And you see regular day people that wish they can be in that position. They say, oh, if I was in that position, I would do this, 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 and this. But you never really know what somebody else is thinking and what they're going through at the same time. So I hope he can change his ways because it's a recurring theme. This not the first time, but at the same time, I don't want to kill him too hard because once again, he is young. He's still growing, but you need to grow up like right now today.
Yeah,
I don't really have too much to say about the speed situation,
yeah.
truthfully.
I agree too, because whole time, I mean, this is not unrecoverable. Like he
Hmm.
can recover from this for sure. Jail 30 days in jail sound crazy, but then it's also like now it's the off season, and luckily I guess, but he wouldn't do this in regular season. But it's the off season. I mean, we did have OTAs, but the 30 days that he's serving, he'll be in time. He'll be in time for the real ramp up, which is
Hmm.
good. And then as far as last year is concerned, why he even got suspended, that was more so not a formality, but as far as the team is concerned, they kind of pushing past that too. So if he can keep it, if he can keep a clean slate moving forward, that
He'll
would
be
be
fine.
he can be he'd be fine in good graces. Definitely don't want to get in his to go to your point like it does suck when you see a young men stack up over and over again, just bad rapport with either the organization, whatever league they're playing in, and the person that come to mind, honestly, probably not the best example is Ja. Like you do stuff over and over and over and over again, and these things might not even be something you can either land in jail for or you
Hmm.
can get suspended for, but because it's you, just like with the the selling that they was doing like this joint all crazy when LSU started doing it. It came to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're not gonna get in trouble for doing that, but because you have now built a reputation for yourself, you under the spotlight. So now it's a whole headline when you do something that everybody else is doing. That's one thing that especially like at least Rashid, we don't want to see happen, especially our young black athletes, because that sucks. So
I agree. And before we move on to our next topic, John, I'm actually glad you brought that up because you made me think of somebody who I think is a perfect comparison that was in this situation but went the opposite way. Josh Gordon. You cannot go down that same path. Josh Gordon was a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL for 2 back-to-back years. A lot of people thought that he could have kept up that pace, smoking weed, felon drug tests, keep getting suspended. Now you out the league for a couple years. You try to come back, and then it's the same thing, and now you're done. You don't want to do that.
yeah,
So yeah. So moving on to our last thing for NFL foolery this week, which I think has been the biggest news and the most disappointing news, at least for me. Jackson Dart introduced President Trump at a rally in New York this past week. Teammate Abdul Carter expressed his disapproval of this event via Twitter. How are y'all feeling about this? And hold on, before y'all do answer, we do have some more news that came out about this. Abdul Carter put out another tweet basically saying that him and Dart had a conversation and there's no beef. And then it was another report that came out that said Harbaugh had a conversation with Dart and he didn't like Dart mentioning the Giants in the speech at all. And there was a couple of teammates that didn't like that as well. Like, okay, if that's what you wanted to do, that's fine. But dragging the team into it, they wasn't okay with that. How y'all feel about this?
It's too much to dissect. But I think with the Jackson Dart situation specifically, like just him and being there right now, I don't really think it's an excuse for it. I think he's a public figure right now with a level of support and just backing that's like, yeah, bro, like you are responsible for what you do and what you partake in. And I feel like another report that's come out is that they were asked, like, do you think that you will frustrate Democrats or fans that are not Trump supporters, that are not fond of Trump? Do you think that you'll disappoint them, or that it'll cause some disgruntled feelings between you and them? And he said, like, I don't think a lot of Democrats watch
football.
Oh yeah,
Like
but what
that's
did he call it? You remember?
called the
Huh?
Blue Hairs.
Yes, Blue Hairs.
Yeah, and your team is in New York,
Yeah,
A
like
Democratic state.
and they love their mayor. Look at the mayor of New York and look at the rally that you at right now.
Democrat.
Like, what are we talking about? So, to me, that makes zero sense, and I think that that's something that I'm not fond of. Abdul saying we talked about it as men. I feel like y'all talk about it as men. That's cool. You don't have to come back out and make a statement. I was rocking with the first statement because I feel like he spoke his heart,
agreed.
and he spoke what we all feel and what a lot of people on his team probably felt as well. I don't
But
think that they spoke it out as men or had a conversation changes the fact that he didn't like that Jackson Dart was at the Trump rally, and I don't think it changes Jackson Dart's heart that he was
No.
there for whatever reason he was there for. So I think whatever conversation they had was minute and don't matter, didn't need to happen. Um, I don't know. I don't want to say I hope that they locker room fall apart because as an entire team organization of men, like over this is real life. But at the same time, like I'm cool off Jackson Dart. I'm cool off Trump. Been cool off Trump. So I mean, whatever happens, happens. But if the locker room break down, he asked for it.
Gotcha.
No, I ain't even gonna say I hope they locker room break down because there's a lot of thoroughmen on that team. I just hope he has the worst season ever known to man. I'm not even gonna lie. And the locker room breaking down, that's one thing, but I hope he sucked this season. No funny. And as far as Abdul, honestly, in the back of my, I really do not think, and I could be wrong because you gotta take it at face value. I really don't think they had a conversation in depth at all. In depth, like they might have went at each other like, yo, I shouldn't have posted that, whatever. And that's really it. And then they told him to post like, oh yeah, we cool to kind of do damage control because everything was just blowing up in the past couple of days. All you see in the sports world. And as far as I'll equate two things, Jackson and the team. Like it's one thing, like we all kind of in agreement on how we feel about, that political representation and what that says about the individual that is in support of it. But I also can say that from a young that to not get too in depth into it, just keep it at face value. Support who you want to support, right? That's in a nutshell, objectively, like that's fine. Cool. Support who you want to support. Obviously we don't, for various reasons. But in that same breath, like what we said as well, the team didn't like that. I think that was a very young and green mistake. Like you go up to a political figure, Riley, and then you go out there and basically rep the team. Like
go big blue, go
big blue. That was probably outside of him being there. Period. Because honestly, I'm considering who Jackson Dart is, and I guess where he's from. I'm not too shocked. I'm never really too shocked that somebody like Jackson Dart being on support of that. But as far as you being there and go big blue multiple times, like that was kind of insane. And like I said, I think that was a mistake and an irresponsible thing to do as a franchise hopeful franchise quarterback and as a young man, especially when you in a response, like so many people think keep politics away from sports, but we see in this instance, and this is also how players think. Politics is very much in sports, but as fans and as the fan world, it's oh yeah, keep politics and sports separate. That's the first thing you heard when this came out the other day. People in the comments, oh, he should have kept. I'm talking about Abdul. Oh, he should have kept this offline. I mean, if this is how he felt, Jackson Dart can represent who he wants to represent. Keep the politics out of sports, but he up on the stage yelling "Go Big Blue," which is an NFL team. So I mean, like, you feel me? And then as far as, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was about to say, I think, like, regardless if he said Big Blue or not, though, I don't think, like, bro, he's the quarterback. Like, we talk about all the time, what's the most important position in sports and what's the most important position in football, blah, blah. George Kittle was at midfield with a Trump hat and a MAGA hat and all that for how many years? And George Kittle continued to make appearances, and it's okay, cool. He nutty. We might say, all right, I hope George Kittle don't succeed this week. But even if you say you hope George Kittle have a terrible season, the 49ers can have a great season, and George Kittle can have 0 catches, and you would be okay with that. Versus if you wish Jackson Dart to have a terrible season outside of him getting benched, it's like, again, he is the quarterback. He is seen, even at 20, 21 years old, he's seen as a leader of this team. So he couldn't have went out there and said nothing about the New York Giants organization whatsoever. You still are very clearly QB1 for the New York Giants representation. You mean, just like if I catch you outside of work right now, but I know where you work, you still representing where you work. And if I see a boss and I want to make it known that you was acting crazy, your boss going to hear whether you had a work uniform on or not. You feel me?
True.
Exactly. So exactly, two things can be true. I think y'all both saying the same thing. Truthfully, he was wrong. Well, no, I don't want to say he was wrong for being there. It was a bad look on him being there from the jump because you are QB1. They building this whole new team around you.
He was right there. He was wrong for being there.
Truthfully,
he out there supporting pedophiles.
I want to get us in trouble. But so yeah, truthfully, you're QB1. They building a whole new roster around you, bringing in a whole bunch of young new guys. You got a new coaching staff around you. Everybody, they're trying to hand you the keys to the organization. And your first opportunity in the public light, you go do something like that. That's number one. And then number two, you double down on it by dragging a team into it. That's what makes it even worse because you don't know what your team supports. Everybody that's a part of that organization, not even just players, might not share the same political views as you. So for you to go up there as QB1 and then basically give a public endorsement of the team that you're now handed the keys to at that rally, that's unacceptable. But I do agree with something that you said, John. It was a young, dumb mistake on his behalf. I don't think he purposely went up there with that intention. I think he was just hyped to be there because this is something that he do support. It's not fake. He was hyped to be there. They want me to do this. He was ecstatic. And That's what he loved football, and that's what came. I'm a Giants quarterback. That's what came to mind, and he said it. It was
Yeah.
wrong. He should have not said it, but it is what it is. Now going forward, I do agree with you guys. I don't really particularly care for his success moving forward. I was excited to watch the Giants. I was just excited to see them last week Monday night against the Cowboys. Now I hope they get
Right.
now I hope they get stuck Monday night
When
against
they
the
start joint
Cowboys.
practice, I hope they smoke Jackson and them Jones.
But I want to pivot back to something y'all mentioned about Abdul Carter. I agree wholeheartedly that I do not think they had a man-to-man conversation. I don't think if they had a conversation at all that it fixed anything. I don't think it squashed anything. I do think there's turmoil in the locker room right now. And I think Jim Harbaugh is trying to do his best to clean it up by immediately having a conversation with Jackson Dart. That's what you want
Yeah.
your coach to do. And it seems as though the Giants owner brought in the right coach at the right time. Because if Jim Harbaugh was not there and Brian Daboll was still over there, or they still had their intern coach, I don't know what they would be doing right now with the situation that's going on.
Yeah.
They probably could have already called the season quits. With Jim Harbaugh being the head coach, you still had some faith that they could turn. No, for real, you still had some faith that they could turn it around. So honestly, it is what it is. My last thing I wanted to say, because this actually almost slipped my mind. I'm shocked that neither one of y'all brought up Ply's tweet about the whole situation. I 100% agree with
Who?
everything that Plies.
You said Plies?
Yeah. I 100% agree with everything he said. I'm paraphrasing the tweet now because I don't have it right in front of me. But essentially, he said, don't use the culture when it's convenient for you if deep down you don't support the culture. Be whoever you want to be. We're not mad at you, but don't fake the funk. And
Right.
I agree with that. I do think throughout
yes.
this whole NFL season, the demeanor and the way that Jackson
Heavy.
Dart was carrying himself,
Heavy.
it was, oh yeah, I'm with y'all. No, you're not.
I'm flexing. He
Being
holding the
up
wrist
there,
up. He holding the wrist up
yeah.
during the season. Like,
But then you up there on the stage with that man, you can't possibly be with us. So that was my last take on that one.
crazy work.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to our first top. Wait, what you say? E?
Say Kirk Cousins would never.
Yeah.
Kirk.
So we're gonna move on to our first topic today. We're gonna give y'all some reactions to the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. If y'all don't mind, fellas, I would like to go first on this one. I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet. I will start with the Eastern Conference Finals. I am highly disappointed. Once again, I went into the series thinking that the Cavs sort of had a chance, just how I thought the Sixers kind of had a chance. And no, the Knicks are not about to sweep both teams back to back. I'm highly disappointed in the Cavs. The way they closed out, the way they got closed out in game one was crazy. That was embarrassing. And from that point on, I essentially knew the series was over. It was discouraging to see them go out there and do that in that game one. And then they follow it up in game two at halftime. You're only down by 3 points, but then you end up getting blown away. So okay, you just came not to play ball in the second half. And then you look at game three, once again, going into halftime, you're only down 6 points. And then we look up the start of the fourth quarter, you down 15-16. So okay, y'all just not playing basketball after the second half, clearly. Because that's what happened in game one, the final 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. So yeah, this series is definitely over. I do expect the Knicks to wrap it up tomorrow night, 8 o'clock sharp. Be there or be square. Moving on to the Western Conference Finals, I think this was the most intriguing matchup going into it. Now, for my own selfish reasons, I did want the Spurs to win because I had faith that the Cavs would win, and I thought that would be a better matchup for the Cavs. But originally, I did expect OKC to win the series. And so with them being up 2-1 right now, it's pivotal that the Spurs can get back into it by winning this game 4 tonight. And so, yeah, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Eastern Conference. I think we might have had this conversation in the group chat, but if it wasn't group chat, I'm sorry I never said it on here. But I never thought that the Cavs could hang with the Knicks. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think they would have gotten swept, but I just think that the Knicks were a little bit too good for the Cavs, and considering the wave that they were, the vibe meter, like the vibes were insane in New York leading up to this matchup, and then the Cavs, vibes were medium. And I also think that they unlocked the Knicks throughout this playoff run have unlocked another level of their offensive ability by Cat being a facilitator. And I think in games 2 and more of a facilitator, and allowing JB to get the ball, not pound the rock like Luka or like Prime James, so that when the fourth quarter comes where JB is, and especially in the playoffs is not close. But overall as a league, he's the best clutch player in the NBA. So when that clutch time comes where he is the best player, he can be the best player with more energy. And I think you saw that in games 2 and 3. And in game 1, it was just a matter of they was storming back, and then JB kind of put BTA at the end of the game, right? And as far as and yeah, they'll probably sweep tomorrow. I'm not even gonna lie. And then as far as
I said they will.
yeah, and as far as the OKC and Spurs, I think this is a very, like Dan said, a very intriguing matchup. And I even said Spurs in 5. It's looking like they're getting belted, but you never know, they might come back and win in 6 or 7. But I think this series as a whole has definitely been one big back and forth kind of knit and tuck chess match on both sides of the ball, offensive, defense, and really for basketball heads putting on display the details of both sides of the basketball for each squad. As you know, game 1, the Spurs took game 1 in double OT on the back of Wemby's 41 and like 27, and then dropped 2. But then you see in those 2 games since then, there have been multiple adjustments on OKC side to allow them to have it, and it don't matter what facade of the game, just have advantages. The only time that really the Spurs were, I guess, dominant, or they really had the game in control, and there was no question about who had it in control, was the beginning of game 3 when they started on that 15-0 run, and then they also ended up being up like 19-4. And then from there, they kind of got walked down and ended up getting, did they get blew out? I think they lost like 16-17 the other night. So I do hope, and I'm not going to beat the horse about kind of the intricacies of the series, but it is great basketball, and it definitely does suck that both sides have injuries too. When you consider Jalen, although they don't really need Jalen, we're seeing that Jalen, but then on the Spurs side, a more important player for them is De'Aaron, and now kind of with Dylan as well a little bit. And I hope, I do hope we continue to see a great series, and that the finals matchup with the Knicks and whoever comes out the West is definitely going to be jumping. But I think whoever comes out the West is putting belt. But yeah.
Go ahead.
I start on the Western Conference since that's where you left off. I agree. Games 1 and 2 is definitely a chess match. Game 3 was plug in De'Aaron and see what happens. I think that game 3 reflected. We think that what we tried before is good enough to win this game. We just gotta not turn the ball over and go play basketball. I do think that some of the mistakes that's happening is not a coaching issue. I think it is lack of discipline, lack of experience, lack of poise and composure in some of these playoff moments. But, the game 3, I didn't see a lot of adjustments. I saw zone defense in overtime and towards the end of the fourth quarter in game 1. We saw we saw Shea trapped hard on multiple occasions at different points or different marks of the basketball court in game 1. Didn't see a lot of that game 2. Didn't see a lot of it game 3. It was more soft traps, more get the ball out of his hand situations, but kind of started like half court fast breaks in a sense because it's 2 behind the wall once that person in the middle touches. So I haven't really liked the way that the game has been coached. I don't know, maybe that's just my lens of basketball now because I didn't really like the coaching in the other series either, but I'll get to that later. I also think that, like, when you talking about the Spurs being dominant, the only dominant part that I saw was when you had 7-5 matched up on 6-4 or 6-5 in game 1. Last game, that didn't even look dominant to me. That just looked like the vibes was high, like you said. We back home. De'Aaron is back. We outside, and we moving fast. The first quarter or so, De'Aaron was effectively getting 2 feet in the paint, and he's quicker than everybody. So it was creating some mismatch, some matchup, just like some problems within the matchups. But from there, once OKC made it a game again, they got a lead and they held the lead for the rest of the game. The intricacies that you decided not to speak on, I guess I won't go into detail about, but those have made it a hard watch for me. Because I think that it's a difference between veteran calls or star calls and just plain out cheating.
Chill,
Or plain out just
chill.
like,
Hartenstein trying his best.
yeah, bro,
Bro,
like just bro, flat out just bad calls. Like I don't enjoy that. You mean, and I understand certain stuff like you gotta like it's certain things that we can watch from 4K on the TV and say that's not a foul when it's harder to call in person and for in person. But it's like, come on, bro, like just the way that the games are being facilitated right now, it makes it hard to not hate OKC. And like our home like Chris feel like everybody hating on what the Thunder is doing and nobody want to see them be great. And it's like, yeah, like you love to hate the person that's winning. Like, yeah, at the same time, the way that the games is being refereed right now is it's just sick, bro. Like it's
sickening.
hard. Like I said, it's hard to watch the game and not have an opinion on that, and that's trying to not be biased. So, like, imagine if you really a fan of the Spurs or you really a Wemby fan, like solely. I can't imagine. But all that said, I still think OKC is playing better basketball right now. I think
But
they're responding to what the Spurs are putting in front of them better right now. I think that they're giving OKC more to adjust to. I'm sorry, not OKC, San Antonio, and San Antonio is not adjusting in the same way that OKC is, like John said. Um, so I think right now, before I see a second of basketball tonight, I would say OKC will win tonight. And if they win tonight, they win it in five.
yeah,
Six if Wemby just decide to be angry and muscle out one more win. But if they don't win tonight, the series is over, no matter how you slice it. And I think the Spurs are good enough, and Mitch Johnson is a good enough coach that they can figure it out. But
Mm-hmm.
from what I've saw thus far, and De'Aaron not being close to 100%, I don't see it happening. Um, in the East, I think it's 100% coaching. I agree with John that I think the Cavs. I never thought the Cavs had a chance going into the series. Like once the series was reality, before they met up, before the Pistons and Cavs series started, I said, okay, cool, the Cavs got a chance because of matchups and play styles and this and that, blah blah. But then their coach just decided to not coach. You said the Cavs haven't played basketball in the second half. I think Kenny Atkinson hasn't coached in the second half, and that's why you see they're able to compete in the first half and then they go into the locker room and Mike Brown draw up some X's and O's on the board and Atkinson say, "We're good. We
Come
just
on,
got
guys.
making
Real
shots." Yeah,
red.
exactly. He in the locker room like Danny Garcia pop or like Teofimo pop. Like you're not saying nothing that matter. We just trying to outskill and outmuscle you. I think they're good enough to be in that series with New York, but they're not good enough to rely on skill only to win a series. And I think that this series has showed the importance of coaching when it comes to playoff basketball. I think that the biggest thing is what John pointed out is the fact that the vibes in New York was heavy and high going into the series, and
Mm-hmm.
once you allowed them to come back from that 20 point deficit in a matter of 7 or 8 minutes in game one, the series was over then. So
and I do want to
Mm-hmm.
say, Chris, if you watch it, or Chris, if you see this deep down, you really feel the same way, but you want some fan shit, so you ain't gonna never say it.
yeah,
And
bro, Chris, I'm gonna come see you, bro. I want to sit down and talk about it. I'm really not coming from a hater perspective, but like
and
this
the and
nasty
the
work, bro.
the crazy thing is like what I want to double back on what Ian said because I
Mm-hmm.
always on the side of like Shea. I've never really hopped on the bandwagon like, oh my god, I'm gonna complain every time about the foul beating because I always just like but as far as in the playoffs, it sucks because one, people complain about Shea and his free throws, right? And I always say, well, if you take out his attempts, if you take out everybody's attempts, he's still leading the league in points. So like that kind of refutes that. But at least as far as the playoffs, like when Ian said they make it hard to not hate it, it's like, bro, as far as what the officiating is, it's like, okay, you don't want to hate a team because somebody else is letting them get away with something. But for the game, like the game two was the worst. I'm not even gonna hold you.
Mm-hmm.
Where every replay you see, Hartenstein is just literally just grabbing Wemby over and over again. And then on the opposite end of the ball, they come down and get all the calls. But what I wanted to say with that is just the Shea and Shea is not even the only person that is the culprit of this because it's contagious on their squad. And I do want to preface by saying it's really unfortunate and it sucks because they are a very good basketball team. Like they are a
Like,
very
why do you need to do this? Like,
exactly like it
All right,
comes down
so
like bro with the jumpers and you
mhm.
falling or you get fouled and you falling or whether even still and like again this comes down to and this really is the ref's fault. Like even still this happened in game 3 a lot. Shea would get the stiff arm foul already off rip right. He'll get the stiff arm get somebody off balance off their feet. They're jumping. He's jumping into their body to be able to draw a foul and get to the free throw line. And it's just like we just saw a post. We saw a post in our at least in our group chat that some fans people are seeing where it's like, oh, why don't we call? Why is it that an NBA player? Why can somebody jump outward into another player's body and draw the foul? And somebody responded and said they made that a rule. And they enforced it for all of 2 months and then it went away. It's a rule now as of like a couple years ago. They don't enforce it. So
Gotcha. So
it's crazy.
hold on. Before we move on to catch or pass, I'm gonna try to make this quick. I just want to say this real quick. As somebody that's neutral, that's in the middle, I'm gonna try to defend Chris real quick because he's not here to defend himself. When we talking about the foul baiting and the drawing fouls, right? You look at Shea and a prime example. We was just talking about him, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson does the same exact thing, not to the same volume as Shea does it, only at certain times. But Jalen Brunson get the ball in the fourth quarter. We seen this starting back 2 years ago when they played the Sixers. It's the same exact way as Shea is playing against the Spurs right now. Nobody complained. Nobody said nothing. When Jalen Brunson was at the free throw line shooting 12, 13, 14 free throws a game in the postseason, nobody cared. Why? Because he was clutching up at the end in the fourth quarter, hitting clutch buckets. You just called him the best clutch player, right, John? What did we just see out of Shea all year?
yeah, they
He
the
was
last
the best.
two.
Yes, it's
They the
okay.
last two.
So
They the award.
But
it's the same thing.
you're giving me a sample size of playoffs versus
It's the
multi
same
seasons of
thing.
this shit. Like this is one JB, like you said, playoffs, and he kind of does it in regular season, not crazy,
No,
but that's one
yeah,
example.
because he don't need to because the way that they offense flow.
Right,
But
but
this
then
is
that's
my
Not saying
versus
Shea
Shea.
needs to do it, but we know on a night-to-night basis he's taking more shots than JB. Fellas, we can't get caught up on this.
No, he
no,
doesn't. They take
no.
equally amount of shots.
My only thing is, I think the
No,
difference is
the free throw attempts, when you go to the free throw line, they don't count that as a shot attempt, and he's getting more free throws.
oh
Shea
yeah, for
taking more shots
sure,
than JB.
for sure. But
Oh,
I
he said,
think the
oh,
difference
free throws.
is one. I think attracting like drawing a foul versus foul baiting is very different. If he like when Shea is getting to the basket and he's drawing fouls, drawing contact because you jumped up, stay on your feet. That's basketball. I'm not mad at that. We watched him dribble to the free throw line, shoot a pull up jumper, land in nobody's space, and collapse to the ground like a blow up doll. And he got 2 free throws, bro, or he got just and one. That's
And we
foul
see
baiting. That's not contact.
JB come off a pick with a wide open layup, and he wait right there for the ball to come from
That's
behind him, but then fall to
basketball.
the ground like
He
that.
still drew the contact. You can see the contact versus we see a lack of contact, but the 2-2, then you go shoot free throws. One is you outsmarting me, and one is a finesse. You mean like it's slightly different. I get what you're saying, but it's still slightly different. We've seen Wade do the stuff that Shea is doing now. He still was drawing the contact. He was abusing the rule of the time. That's different than Harden grabbing your arm on the way to the rim and laying the ball up. It's different. And still, Chet does it. Jay will do it. ISO Joe do it. Everybody on that team except for Caruso do it. In New York, it's a Jalen Brunson thing. So that's still slightly different. But that's going to be the NBA Finals matchup, so they can have a flop off.
Yeah,
this
is a great topic. We're gonna have to come back to this another day, and because I got some points for why Hartenstein is treating Wemby that way. He don't have no choice. But we're gonna move on to catch or pass. And the first statement for catch or pass this week, we got some more basketball for y'all. Devin Booker is a glorified Joe Johnson. And no disrespect to Joe. You mean? No disrespect to Joe. How y'all feel about it?
So can I ask for specification? When you say
Mhm.
glorify Joe Johnson, are we talking about play style or how much they accomplish in their careers?
No, what I'm talking about is his view from the fans. In terms of when Joe Johnson was playing ball, right? When we was watching Joe Johnson play basketball, nobody sat there and said Joe is a 1 on a championship team. We got people that sit here now and talk about how Devin Booker is a one on a championship team, how this team need to trade for Book, how that team need to trade for Book, and et cetera, et cetera. We treat Devin Booker as if he's a yearly all-star and like he's a top 3 shooting guard in the league year in and year out, when I don't think he deserved that credit, which is why this is the statement for today.
Pass. Because I think it's almost disrespectful to Devin Booker, and we'll probably disagree a little bit, but I think Devin Booker is not astronomically better than Joe Johnson, because that's kind of crazy. But I think there is a very clear gap with how good Joe Johnson is.
Because
Go ahead.
So I'll say this. I'll say on a championship team back then, you can definitely win a chip with Joe as your 3, and you could possibly win a chip with Joe as your 2. You can definitely win one with him as your 3, for sure.
So yeah, I'm still passing because I think the argument making is different for Book. First, I want to go like what you said, year in and year out. Book not being a top 3 shooting guard. I think from after like his 3rd year in the league, year in and year out, you could easily make the argument that he was a top 3 shooting guard very easily. And just off the top of my mind, you consider some shooting guards on top of my mind. You got Harden in this past, like let's say, but like 8 years.
You've had Harden, you've had Clay, you've had Ant, you've had D. Mitch.
Right?
D. Mitch have been better than Book, yes. That's my
point. You can make that argument, like, because you can't say the numbers. You can't say the numbers.
More Book got to the finals.
You can say that. Hold on. Go ahead. Answer your questions, because you didn't even go yet. Before I debate y'all.
No, I was just passing, but like at least some of these players, you can make the argument. Like some of these players, like Clay, and we talking about who's better. Some of the people you just named, Harden is the only person I heard you just name that was like, yo, you are clearly not better than Harden. But as far as
so
Donovan,
he could compete with Ant,
bro. I think that's a toss up. Like not a toss up. I think Ant is better, but it's not. Like, he's not shitting on Book. Like Book is like that. Is we talking about a 2, a bucket getter like that? That's that SG. But nonetheless. Even still,
all GMs in the NBA right now, if they take an Ant or Book, I bet you only one GM is going to say Book.
Yes, you're taking Ant right now. But my point being is like these dudes are not shitting on Book. So you say year in and year out he cannot be a top 3 shooting guard. I'm disagreeing with that because he hasn't won it. I mean, he has a finals trip in a plethora of not plethora, but a couple seasons in the playoffs. But I also think you consider 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you consider. You mean with his performance both in one on that championship run during the regular season, the number he's put up, his raw ability, you can easily make that argument year and out. Up until this point where you have more players in the league now, kind of. But no, I'm gonna pass on at least on the question.
What about you, E?
I'm gonna pass as well. I'm gonna lean more towards John in his argument and versus. And I agree. I understand where you're coming from. I think like Joe Johnson got clutch buckets and clutch moments. Sometimes in the playoffs as well. Like Joe Johnson
is he's also a 4-time All-Star.
He wasn't like defensively. Yes. He was a part of a couple of those Hawks teams that was one season in the East. But I think that a lot of the teams that Joe Johnson played on, the roles that he was, and like the was of Joe Johnson versus what Book's role has been in the league since he got here, and realistically the lack of help that he's had in Phoenix. I mean, some of that has been his decision to stay there and do loser stuff. But I think like you just said, Ant versus Book is not a debate. I think Ant been to 2 Western Conference Finals so far. I think
been to 3.
He's been to 3. If he went to 1 instead of 3, do you feel like it's an argument?
Yes, but the fact that he been to 3 straight, and then not just that, the way that he performs, the way that he show up, the way that we've seen him take games over and take series over, especially that series against the Lakers last year, he took that over. The series against the Nuggets 2 years before that, he took that series over. We haven't seen Devin Booker take a series over. We haven't seen him lead a team anywhere. The team that went to the finals, their leader was Chris Paul. He was also playing alongside Mikal Bridges. That was probably the best version of Mikal Bridges until this past postseason. That was also probably the best version of DA that we seen outside of these past couple playoff games that he had. He had a legit squad, and all they asked him to do was go get us anywhere from 22 to 25 points a night, and we good.
But I don't think that's the only role that he played for the team. I think that he still was an initiator of offense. I think that a lot of the looks that Mikal Bridges got was because of the threat that Devin Booker caused. I think that when you look at Devin Booker's best team around him, and you look at the best team that Ant has had around him, whether you consider that a team with Cat at his prime or at his best before he got out of here, or you consider that now with Jaden McDaniels looking like we got Jaden McDaniels. Regardless, Book's team got further in the playoffs, and I definitely think that it's a testament that he got to the Western Conference Finals. But in one of those conference finals, I literally watched him not adjust. Now, I'm not going to say that it's folding, but I saw him not rise to the moment. It wasn't a matter of you killed and y'all weren't good enough as a team. Now, do I think that the Wolves were good enough, talented enough, deep enough, no Diddy to beat OKC? No. No, I don't think so. But I also think that he played to the level that he should have and he was capable of in that series. So when I see that happen and I look at what Book has been around his entire career in Phoenix, again, regardless of not of if that is a choice, because it's reminding me right now of Dame, who chose to stay in Portland for however long, and he never got out the Western Conference Finals, but he also did that in the era of Harden and Steph. So I'm not holding that against him in the same way that somebody can't win with a better team in a different era of basketball.
No, my rebuttal for that is at least Dame was making the postseason year in and year out. Whether he was a first round exit or not, Dame was in the postseason. This was before play in and all this. Now you could get a chance to get in as the 10th seed and et cetera, et cetera. Devin Booker outside of this past season, and once again, it was a play-in type of situation, and it was Jalen Green with 2 back-to-back 30-point games. Not even Devin Booker that got the Suns into the play-in, but outside of him making the postseason this year, when have he made a postseason without a top 75 player? He did not make a postseason without Kevin Durant or Chris Paul.
So are you equating Book not being as nice as I guess you don't think he is to success?
Yes, bro. To two things. Some type of winning, and if it's not going to come down to you factor into winning, your numbers got to be astronomical. And his numbers is not. His numbers is 25, 5 and 5. That's great, but no, that's above average. That's not superstar numbers. We keep talking about Book like he got superstar potential. We've been hearing superstar potential for the last 5 years. Devin Booker is 10 years in. He came in at 17. He's 10 years in.
The years he playing next to top 75 talent is the years where he averaged 24, 25. When he by himself.
Okay, what did he average this year by himself? Again, 25.
He wasn't by himself.
When you going to give us 28, 29? When you going to give us that?
This year, Jalen Green was there. The boy Gillespie started to play. They was also not expected
Stop
to do
Stop it. Colin
bro,
Gillespie, stop.
He played a role on their squad, bro. I'm not talking about.
He should not take points from Devin Booker, period.
Bro, you gotta look at the system and how they play basketball. I'm not saying what should happen. I'm saying what happened out there. And even still, like you said, Book is 10 years in, so we got a bigger sample size to judge from. You mean like
Devin Booker? We keep treating Devin Booker like he's in pre-K, like he don't got his feet wet already.
Nah, that's not how I view it. But I think that for you to be a glorified Joe Johnson, you got to be in the same role, getting the same type of praise. Joe Johnson never had a Phoenix Suns team where they said, go be the number 2 guy every night, or go be the number 1 guy on this night and give us 25 to 30 for us to have a chance to win. Now he averaged 20 plus on multiple seasons.
He averaged 20
to that squad success
plus 3 times.
But it was 4 or 5 other guys on the team that you could point to and say, go give me a bucket, not 20. But it was other guys that you could depend on to score, to where the pressure on Joe Johnson on a night-to-night basis, I don't think it equates to what it was for Book, or what we've seen from Book throughout his career.
I'll give you that. The pressure is not the same.
That's why I don't think he's glorified. That's the only reason, because of how the question was worded. But
okay.
I see where you're
No,
coming from with the
yeah,
question.
okay. I'm not mad at your answer at all, Ian. But John, we button heads on this one. We can't talk about this all night. We gotta move on to the
Cause bro,
next thing.
I feel like you disrespecting books something crazy,
No,
bro. I'm
you
not
know
gonna
what?
lie.
So what we got to talk about? We got to talk about Hartenstein and Wemby, and then we got to double back on Book. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next statement for catcher pass. Lamar Jackson is under the most pressure in the AFC next season.
Pass. I'm passing. Is we've expected Lamar to succeed for the last 3 or 4 years. Um, we've pointed to as the season was concluding, even in while the playoffs were still happening. We talked about how deep the quarterback position is and the NFC right now, and how in terms of young quarterbacks, we don't know who's going to be capable of what. We don't expect a number one seed from the season prior to repeat
I'm,
or
go ahead.
anything to that magnitude. So I think that with the rising stars of in the AFC of the Trevor Lawrence, if Bo Nix can come back healthy, I'm not gonna put too much stock in Jay Herbo name, but you know what I mean, like they division in itself look good. We don't know what California is gonna look like. It's just it's too much talent in the AFC for us to say like, yeah, bro, Lamar got the most pressure. He's been an MVP. He's been a top 5 quarterback for 5 years, and we've expected him to win for the last 5 years, and he hasn't. So, hope to see him win, but I'm not putting no more pressure on him than we have already.
Gotcha. So hold on. Before you get your take, John, for me, Ian, that's the main reason why I think he has the most pressure. So one, you already been a multi-time MVP, not a one-time MVP. You got 2 of them things. Some people believe you should have 3. Okay, fine. We already know what your struggles are come postseason. That's well documented. People are looking forward to you changing that. And then you also got to look at the typical threats going into the AFC this year. Patrick Mahomes is dealing. He's coming back from a season-ending injury. People don't know how the Chiefs are going to look going into the year. Same thing with the Broncos that was just in the AFC Championship game. People don't know how they're going to look going into the season. Okay, you're contending with Drake May. A lot of people didn't think the Patriots deserved to be in the bowl last year, but they was there. They're the defending AFC champs. Okay, that's who you got to go up against. And now Josh Allen, he just lost some pieces on offense, and he just lost his head coach. So he's still an MVP as well. So I guess if you want to divide the pressure between them two, but he's also dealing with a new head coach. You're dealing with a new head coach, but that's what you wanted, because it was clear as day a few months ago it was coming down to either you or Harbaugh, because Harbaugh was making it public how you don't like to practice this certain time, how we can't get stuff done because you're late, and et cetera, et cetera. Y'all remember a few months ago, Harbaugh made that public, and then 2 weeks later, he's fired. That's not by coincidence. So you force your coach out the door. You got to get it. What's up? Go ahead, John.
I'm gonna pass with an asterisk because I just think, and I'll give you my asterisk, but I'm gonna pass because I more so to Ian point because I think I'm more so lean that way, and I also think when you are, you do have that kind of two, and I think Lamar's kind of special in the case where you that 2-time MVP, numbers is great. You have significantly improved as a passer since the time you stepped in the league, and then people still think you're not quarterbacky enough when all the numbers say otherwise. So I'm a pass on that aspect, but I put an asterisk because I think he is under pressure to maybe not win one because I think that the AFC and the quarterbacks that are kind of coming up in some of the teams is steep, but at least to perform. Like even if he loses, I think we can't get to another playoffs this year or even next or even the year after where your worst game of that season once again comes
It's the
in the AFC
postseason.
champion. Yes, the AFC championship or the round before that, and that has definitely been. And by no means has he been an all-time playoff terrible player by no means, but every year in and year out, his worst game of the season comes in the playoffs, and that just I think that's where he's kind of under pressure to more so, and he has great playoff performances. Don't get me wrong, but those he has great playoff performances. It's not like he's always ass, but his worst games of the season comes in the postseason. So I think his pressure comes from that aspect. Like, all right, bro, like we get to the postseason, even if we don't win, Like you can't, not to say you can't be the reason that we lose, but it is based on how it looks. You feel me? So I'm a pass on the question though, nonetheless.
So John, the crazy part is, so I put pressure, but I didn't specify on him winning it because, like you, I think they have to at least compete, and he got to be in the AFC Chip game or
Yeah,
he got to be in a Super Bowl. So if you talking in terms of him performing and being the best player on his team,
yeah, just
come
performing.
postseason, win, lose or draw, then we on the same page for the
Yeah,
question.
for sure. Because it's been too many. It's just been too many instances now that you're in year like 8 ish or 9 as a 2-time MVP, an All
Mhm.
World player, and like I said, you get into the postseason, and the worst game you play that season comes at that time in the L, like
Like
that.
we can't be in the divisional round and you get outplayed by Drake May.
Yeah, that
No.
can't happen. Or even let's say you ask, like let's say Drake May doesn't have a good game either, but you out there 2 picks, fumble, you go 10 of 19 for a buck 70 and 40 rushing yards. Like that can't happen. Like
No. So yeah, you got any last thing to add before we move on to our last topic? A. Got you.
Yeah, we green.
Well,
Let's get her done.
we gonna move on to our last topic of today. If the NBA did away with conferences in the postseason, would it be better?
yes, I think it would be better per se. I think better might not be the word that I'm looking for. I think it'd definitely be more jumping. Like if you get away from conferences, you would have a lot of matchups that would be unexpected. Like if they came from, let's say the idea of this, you go one through how many teams make it? You go 1 through 16. Let's say you go 1 through 16, and then let's say right this year you would have, and granted those first round matches would probably kind of be crazy because
The
you feel me? It'll
Pistons
be
versus Sixers would have been a first round matchup.
yes, Pistons versus well, but if you incorporate
Yeah,
going into the
both
West,
sides because the Pistons would
it's
be
still it still
the
would have been
they
the Sixers though.
got the third best record in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, behind the Spurs and
Okay,
OKC. And then
right,
the teams that made the playoffs, the Sixers had the third worst record.
right. Okay, yes, absolutely, you're right. So I think that would be going to that first round matchup. Some of those might be bombs, but I think you feel me. It will be not better TV, but very interesting matchups across the board since you no longer have conferences. So you can have a team from the East, like you just said, you can have a team from the East, the Pistons face off against the Suns in the first round, like, and it'd be a jumping series. You never know based on how the matchups go, etc. But I think it would be jumping. I ain't even gonna lie. I don't know if I would feel like I would want them to. It's something I would want to see per se. I definitely think I would lean more towards the seeding matchups going into the playoffs, where
Hmm.
the highest seed plays the lowest seed that's left versus how they do it now in the bracket system. But I think that would be a good idea if they were to entertain it.
Gotcha. What about you, E?
Yeah, bro, I'm with it. I think that unlike the NFL, like conferences aren't. I think in the NFL the conferences are kind of even, and I think that in the NFL is in part because there are divisions, and so with the way the divisions are set up in the NFL, the worst team in the NFL got a chance to have an impact on playoff seeding and division and the outcome of that. Just because I see you twice a year, we game plan for you differently. The film on you is different. The rivalry is different. We take this personal. And the NBA, all of that conference, like the little division stuff, that's minute stuff. But we don't really hear about that stuff. They really tried to implement with the NBA Cup and all of that, another form of competition and seeding and brackets. But I think that um, for the last probably 5 to 10 years of our life, it seemed like the talent on the West has been lopsided. I mean,
Hmm.
so you could look at years where the one seed on the East and the one seed on the West could compete, but two on each side is or maybe you got the top three teams on each side kind of even out. But after that, it's a clear fall off, and who
Hmm.
should be in the playoffs and who should not be. And you got teams in the West who have been punished for not being good enough in the conference that they exist in, and you got teams in the East who are being rewarded for the conference that they are in. And sometimes what it turns into is even with the change of the playoff seating, if we change the seating and this year in the second round instead of OKC, the Lakers played the Spurs, they still get smacked. You mean, and like that's just one example because the Lakers were a top 5 seed in the West, regardless. But if it's situations like that in the East where the Magic or even us at the 7 seed this year with the type of season that we had, we may not have been in the playoffs. So or the matchup that we have is different going into the playoffs. I think that doing away with the conferences creates a more exciting dynamic going into the postseason. And I think that in a lot of cases, like even right now, I think that this Western Conference Finals is going to be more entertaining than the championship game. And I think that was the case. Well, maybe not only because they're going to play championship games in Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
but this might be a better matchup in the Western Conference Finals than in the championship. And if that's the case, then this will be like the third year straight that's been the case.
Hmm. Gotcha. So for me, surprisingly, I was leaning towards y'all, but I'm actually disagree with y'all on this one for one reason only. I don't think y'all probably thought too much into this, but if they was to do that, are they going to change the way they schedule the games for the regular season? Because we got East and West for a reason. You playing, I'm playing this team 4 times. I'm playing this team 3 times. Okay, this team on the East, I'm only going to see them once or twice. So now when it comes to the end of the year, like you just pointed out, at least in our lifetime, the West have 9 times out of 10 been the better conference. So now all these West teams are at a disadvantage more than what they already are when you line it up 1 through 16, because now you got all these teams on the East that throughout the whole course of the season been playing easier competition than me. So I might be the 10th seed on the West, and I'm definitely not gonna make the postseason. But if I got a chance to play the competition that the East got to play all season long, I could possibly be the 4th or the 5th seed on the East. And now when we combine everything, I'm in the postseason. So I think it would put too much into chance, and they would have to tweak a bunch of stuff that they don't feel like tweaking right now. Because
Fair enough.
players would definitely complain about that. So you mean to tell me that I gotta play OKC and the Spurs 8 times a year, and they only got to play Detroit 4 times a year, and they get ready to have the same opportunity to be in the same postseason as me at the same size 1 through 16 based off of wins? Mm-mm. It would be unfair to certain teams. So yeah, if we don't got anything else to say, we can leave it there. Make sure y'all tap into the game tonight. I think it's gonna be a good one. Hopefully the Spurs can win this game and keep the Western Conference Finals competitive.
Sir.
Um, Make sure y'all check out our next video and go check us out on Instagram. I'm gonna drop a ticket for y'all. Probably not for tonight. No, I really want to do tomorrow? They get sent home. I'm not even about to waste my money like that. I'm gonna catch y'all for Game 5, OKC versus Spurs. Make sure y'all check us out on Instagram at everything X goes, and we will catch y'all in the next one.